Hello. Hi there.
Oh, you have like British kind of accent? Have you been to England before?
And English is kind of my mother language, though I haven't used it for like decade.
Really?
So yeah, I have
What
a weird
languages do you,
accent.
what languages do you speak?
I normally speak Korean.
I learn Korean at home.
You learn Korean at home by yourself?
Yeah,
How?
it's difficult. Believe me.
I know
Online.
Korean is difficult even for Korean like me.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So how do you learn Korean by yourself? Alphabets are difficult.
Yeah, the alphabet, I've known the alphabet a long time now, but I usually learn like there's like a website online and it has like lessons, and I would do like 2 lessons a day, maybe. Been building up like that slowly.
So can you speak in Korean, or are you just learning how to read and write?
I can speak a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, it's difficult to learn speaking if you're not like in the country, because
Right.
there's nobody to speak to.
Even if I think in English, since as I've told you, English is my mother language, I'm starting to forget the language itself.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. I learned Spanish, and ever since I started learning Korean, I meant to be speaking in Spanish, and straight away I'm like, like what was bed again? And I think of it in Korean first, and then I think of it like in Spanish. I'm like, no, that's not it.
I know it very well. I mean, language is all about getting used to it, right?
Yeah,
So if you don't use it, you forget it.
you're speaking perfectly with me right now. So
Thank you, but I murmur a lot of times. Like in my brain, in my thoughts, it shouldn't be like that. But whenever I try to speak something like it stops.
But I think everyone, like, no matter, like, even if you're fluent in the language, like, everyone always kind of has those, like, what was this again? Kind of.
Right. So why are you learning languages? I mean, you've told me that you learned Spanish before, and now you're learning Korean, right?
I like it. I just like it. Actually, I'm Polish. So my first language is Polish, and then I learned English. I would also learn Irish in school. Now it's like when I learn Spanish, I feel like I'm just like, oh, this word sounds like this word, like in Polish. You know what I mean? So I would just know it, for example, since I have so much, like, the more languages you know, the easier that it will be to learn more languages.
Right. Especially those are Latin-based language, right? They have
exactly.
like similar form, similar structure.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
if you're born in Korea, it's easier to learn Japanese because we
Yeah.
have same sort of structure.
That's why I would love to learn Korean, because it's so different. I never had, it's like a challenge,
It
with all
is
those, like,
the challenge because if you want to know it perfectly, you also have to study traditional Chinese characters
yeah.
because there are many Korean words based on traditional Chinese. So
And so,
it's very complicated, even for me.
yeah. Me too.
I'm sure you've seen Chinese characters, right? Those are like drawings. It doesn't look like alphabet.
Yeah. Sure, isn't that why, like, the King Sejong, isn't that why he literally made Korean? Because people
Right.
can't read Chinese?
As far as I know, we were using traditional Chinese before Hangul was made. We had
Yeah.
our language system. We have spoken Korean, but we used Chinese to write them down before
Yes,
Korean
yes.
existed.
That's what I meant. So you don't have to do all the drawings. Now you can just, do the little Hangul.
Still, there are many words from traditional Chinese. Like, if you talk about library in Korea, it's 도서관, right? And if you speak in Chinese, it's 图书馆. And if you say it in Japanese, it's
図書館
it sounds familiar. They have similar pronunciation because we share the same Chinese character.
Yes.
Like a phone, it's 전화 in Korean. In Japanese, it's 电话. In Chinese, it's 电话. Like they all use same Chinese characters, and it all sounds the same, right?
Yeah. It's, yeah.
But it's a lot complicated for those who speak like Latin-based language.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It reminds me of how in English, when you say like phone and then like in Spanish it's like teléfono, you know, and like stuff like that. Like it's just, it all kind of just comes together, you know?
Right. My mom actually asked me to learn Spanish when I was a bit younger, but I refused it because it was so complicated to me. Like, the only Spanish sentence that I can make is "Hasta la vista, baby," which is from Terminator.
Spanish is fun. I like Spanish. It's similar to Polish in like verb conjugating ways, because there's like, to some extent, Polish is a bit harder, but it's like, you know, there's like me, you, he, she, and it's all different. And then there's the masculine and feminine version of both, which is
You mean like a male noun and female noun?
yeah.
Like in French, you have to like in English, you just put a in front of noun, like an apple, like a car. But I heard in French, if noun is like female noun, you have to use different the thing that comes right in front of it, right?
It's the same with Spanish and Polish.
That's the most complicated thing.
Yeah, it's even when I'm speaking Polish, I'm just like, why is this thing? No.
How can I guess if something is a feminine noun or not? Like it's so random.
It also, you know how these days there's like people like that with pronouns like they, them, you know? So like, do you know when people talk about me, they say she, her, like, oh, she went to the shop, yeah. But there's certain people who are like, oh no, I'm like they, you know, they went to the shop. They don't like being called she or he.
All right.
And in like French, it's impossible to make a sentence like not masculine or feminine. So them people, they cannot physically, you know, be called they, them in French.
Those are the people who insisting that they should make a new word. They should not use he, she, like those kind of forms. But for me, it's so complicated. So no thanks for me. Like seriously, like how can I remember all those things whenever I try to say something?
Yeah, no, I think that's a little extreme.
They have to make a new language, their own equal language, which is quite impossible.
Yeah. No, just no.
Yeah.
I remember there was this controversy that happened, and it was like a leader, like, or maybe like, I don't know exactly who it was, but I remember they were making a speech, and at the end, they were like, "A men and A women." And you were like, "What?" We were like, "No." Oh, it was funny.
Imagine we have to like change the words that we use every day. Like, I use I every day, but if I have to think about it before talking it, I won't be able to communicate with people anymore.
Yeah, that's why in what am I saying? Sorry, I was supposed to say something that made like no sense.
In Chinese, they say 他,他们. Ta means he or she. It all sounds the same, but if you have to write it down, if the person was a woman, you have to write that woman character in front of the letter behind it. It's a bit complicated. Yeah. But it all sounds the same. It all sounds ta.
Do you learn Chinese? Because you know a lot of Chinese.
I used to learn Chinese when I was young.
Yeah.
I was quite good at it. I mean, I was quite good at using it. I wasn't good at writing or reading, though.
I see. Oh, it's difficult.
It is. It's sort of easy for me to learn Japanese, which is very close to Korean. I can even speak basic Japanese without learning it. But if I have to learn Russian one day, that's going to be very tricky. I can only say like "suka biet."
Yeah, that's right. I like, it's kind of similar when Polish I can understand, like Slavic.
All right. You can mainly understand many Russian words, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's kind of similar to how you were talking about Chinese characters. I remember one of them was like, the direct like translation was like waterman,
Right.
and it was like a diver, you know? And it like, you know, it's like, it makes sense.
And it's something like fire and fighter. Like, fighter means you're literally fighting to something, but if you have fire in front of it, you fight with fires. So.
Exactly. Just like that. So yeah, Polish people can definitely understand Slavic, but speak it, not so much.
Well, there's a Russian who told me that if you just know how to use sukabit perfectly, you just know like 90% of Russian, so no problem with that.
I think Polish people swear a lot too.
Human
It's
beings swear a lot. I mean, like, whenever we learn a new language, we learn like bad words first, right?
That's so true. That's
Speaking
true.
of that, do you know Korean versions of bad words?
I know a few, yeah.
How many words do you know? Like, there are many forms of swearing in Korea.
I know, like, I don't know. I don't think I know that many, honestly. Like, I don't really use them, you know, because who am I meant to be swearing at?
Especially in Korean.
Yeah. I think I know, like, the main few, you know? You know. You know all the words. I've never heard, obviously, like Korean swearing in real life because I live here.
Yeah, almost nobody speaks Korean in there, right?
Nobody. I don't know anybody that speaks Korean. But whenever I hear it, I always, it's gonna sound strange, but I really love how it sounds. When I hear Korean swear words, I always just think of them as like a bit of fun. You know?
But if you listen to it every day, you're going to think in a different way.
Probably, but right now when I hear it, I'm just like, haha. Also, like, where are you? Like, it literally looks like you're in a museum.
Like, museum.
Yeah, wait, is that like a green screen?
No, it's not a green screen. I can even go back and touch it. Like, these are real.
Where are you?
I can even use this telephone.
That's so trippy. It looks like a green screen. And then you were just like, hi. Like, it's so bright as well.
Right, it really seems like CG, right? That I use like green screen, but it's not. It's my restaurant.
It's your what?
It's my restaurant.
Restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I see. What type of restaurants do you have?
I don't know if you're going to know it, but I'm selling tteokbokki.
Oh.
Know it?
Yeah, like the rice sticks in the like red thing, but I don't know what it is, but yeah.
Not really that type of tteokbokki, but yeah, that's actually the most basic type of tteokbokki, and we sell something a lot more complicated. So, well, yeah, you're right.
I can imagine. Oh, what part of Korea?
We're not in Seoul. It takes an hour and a half or 2 hours to get to Seoul by car. But if you take a train, it's going to take about 40 minutes.
I see. It's always funny whenever I ask Korean people that question. I'm like, oh yeah, what part of Korea are you from? I was like, South. I'm like, well, yeah.
Well, yes, obviously. We're not from North.
Literally, I'm like, yeah, I'm asking like city, you know?
I believe the only person you can actually have like, the video chat on Omegle will be like Uncle Kim.
Uncle Kim? I don't know who.
Kim Jong-un, the supreme leader of North Korea.
Ah, okay, Uncle Kim, I see.
I mean, but seriously, he may be the only one who can do it, so.
True. Just him.
Imagine just doing Omegle and suddenly see Uncle Kim from North.
I would cry. I'd be like, oh, what are you doing? Oh. I have to go. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Well, it was nice talking with you and see you on Instagram.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.